I'm afraid I'm old, and I'm from Yorkshire, and climate change is a reality.
But no beard.
I decided I kept telling childhood stories to our 4 children about how tough and cold it was up north in the Yorkshire Dales where I was brought up, getting the hay in 3 times, and each time it rained. Anyway, 2 years ago, we took a week in the native valley, and by the time we got to Wakefield, it was 27 degrees Celsius. By the time we got to Leyburn, it was about 30, and they said, "Dad, it's not tough up north at all. It's hot." So anyway, I'm going to talk about the Biodynamic Land Trust, and I'd like to welcome and appreciate all the people here who've already joined us and who are members of the Biodynamic Land Trust and who've helped us secure the Bramblety land at Tablehurst, and who've also invested in the Stockwood Community Benefit Society, which is a partner community benefit society that secured Rush Farm, where the Parsons family farm, and also who've invested in our Totnes project, Huxham's Cross Farm. Where's Wendy Cook? Wendy's over there. If anybody wants to know what's happening in Totnes with Huxham's Cross Farm, do have supper with Wendy. Is that okay? And I'm going to sort of invite various people to make themselves known. So, Yorkshire Dales, I learnt the 2 secrets, the secrets of cooperation. When the railway stopped from Leyburn to Hawes, Kit Calvert, famous Yorkshireman, set up Hawes Creamery, which now is a huge Wensleydale creamery which sells Wensleydale cheese. So cooperation. Secondly, land as a commons, land as a bundle of rights. I still don't know who owns the moor on which we had 200 sheep gates, the right to graze 200 sheep. But it was a kind of commons, and we had the right to graze. So that was my early introduction to land rights. We had to clear the sheep that were grazing in the wrong places once a year. So a line of people went across the moor, and woe betide you if you got by old Rowley Fawcett, because he had a shotgun, and it used to go off at random. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about the purpose and benefits of increasing biodynamic acreage, the why, what, and how. What are our aims and activities? Some of our projects, and some of the challenges, particularly farmer succession, people wanting their farms to continue as biodynamic or organic farm. Also, young farmer entrants. Where's Ella Hashemi? Ella's on the front row. She's on the ground spring table, aren't you? And if anybody wants to have supper with Ella, she'd be very interested in talking with about entrant farmers, young entrant farmers, and how to secure that. Also, where's Gabriel Kay? Also a member of our team, our honoured society secretary and administrator. Gabriel would welcome conversations about bequests and farmer succession as well. Okay. Hope I can work this. So our purpose, the context. Do we want a total market society? We like markets in their proper place, but is the market all there is? Or do we want a commonwealth society where culture, where community and human rights, and where there's a social economy and care for the planet as 4 distinct spaces of society? So if you go to Sekhem in Egypt, a huge biodynamic farm, they're very clear about the care of the earth through biodynamic farming. They're very clear about developing a social economy and social businesses through their businesses that generates enough wealth for their community life, and they've got rights, quite a distinct sphere. And it generates enough wealth for their cultural life, a school, a university, a technical school, research institute, a health centre, and a mosque in the middle of the Sekhem home farm. It's a wonderful model of a commonwealth society. And so that's we can be very busy running good farms. However, what about the societal context? For example, as taxpayers, we're sending 34 billion to Hungary, and Viktor Orban, the president of Hungary, has and his government has just destroyed Kishantos Organic Farm, 1,200 acre world-renowned model farm, Kishantos. It's been sold off to oligarchs, and glyphosate has been sprayed on the organic fields. So, what kind of society do we want? So secondly, if we have a thorough market society, land becomes a commons. Land becomes a commodity, not a commons. In our land trust, we view land as a commons, as a community to which we belong, rather than as a commodity. And it's very interesting how certain countries like Denmark has calmed its land market, restricting ownership of farms to working farmers often and people living locally, and their pension fund invests in farms for farmer access. So we do have choices. So in Britain, we've got a fiercely market society where the market is considered to be the solution for everything. So we have an affordable access, farm access challenge, particularly for young farmers. If you inherit one, fine, but it's very difficult for others. So one solution, which is a micro solution, not a macro solution, is farmland trusteeship. Things like the National Trust own 800 farms. That's a kind of national trusteeship model, and there are other models, but that's one reason why we set up the Biodynamic Land Trust, because through family dynamics, through the lack of a land trust platform, a lot of biodynamic farmers were being lost. You remember the Broome Farm story? The family dynamics of Broome Farm. Have I got the right farm, the local one? Yeah? The Parsons Farm, is that right? I forgot that right. Because of the family dynamics, that was lost to biodynamics. So perhaps, if the Biodynamic Land Trust had been around, that could have been a vehicle for saving that farm. And the benefits, how can we secure enduring community benefits, biodiversity, landscape, good food, as well as enabling land access for farmers and for communities and for enterprise. So that's what we try to do. So the purpose then is to serve the biodynamic movement with a land trust platform. So we're a charitable community benefit society. You can join by investing £100 and be a voting member, voting in the directors in AGMs. We've got a close connection with the Biodynamic Association. So Chris Stockdale, the chair of the Biodynamic Association, is one of our directors. Where's Chris? Chris, where are you? Yeah, so if you want the real lowdown about the Biodynamic Land Trust, check it out with Chris. So one purpose is to secure land for farmers and communities. For example, we secured Brambletye land for Tablehurst Community Farm, and we're very proud to be one of their land trusts because that's a world-renowned beacon farm. And we hope that will continue. So that's one activity. The second, accessing land for entrant farmers. For example, we've been asked a question by young farmers in the Stroud area, can we create a starter farm situation? Can we secure land? And Stroud Community Agriculture, of which I'm a member, it's a co-op, will do some mentoring of the young farmers, and we hope that will become established. Protecting biodynamic farms through bequests and succession. We'll come back to that, but many farmers, ask the question, do I want to give my land and my property to my children who are not interested in farming? Yeah, who will just sell it, and that farm will be lost. How can I secure the biodynamic or organic or sustainable future of my farm? What's the mechanism? So, for example, a farmer in Wiltshire who's an organic farmer, his farm is worth £3 million. He's put his whole life into that wonderful farm, and he's afraid that his several children will sell it when he dies. So his question is, how can we secure that farm? And how can we protect and that's not easy. Succession is a difficult process. It may take several years building a support group around a farm. It's difficult finding good farmers. It's difficult matching good farmers with the departing previous farmer. So it's quite a personal business. and that takes time. So protect existing biodynamic farms. So the Parsons family very bravely, in my view, decided to set up a separate community benefit society. They're charitable, it's a community benefit. It's a sort of little exotic area of the Friendly Societies legislation, which gives certain advantages. And they're very brave to set that up to secure Rush Farm and Stockwood Business Park into a trusteeship body. And thank goodness it's really worked and transformed the wound, I think, of Broome Farm. And one of the interesting reasons is it does prevent future family dynamics if it's quite clear where the ownership of a farm is going. And in many land trusts, of course, they welcome the members of the family who've given the farm, this is American practice, to retain a connection with the farm, and particularly if they want to continue farming. So the genius of Stockwood Community Benefit Society, however, is that there's an income stream from the workspace, from the workspace let. So the share offer, the community share offer that was done to raise the finance for that, which triggered the loans and to secure that farm into Stockwood CBS. Some interest, 5% interest, could be paid on that. And do visit the Stockwood CBS stall. And there's a farm visit tomorrow, is that right? Yeah, to see how it works. Okay, finally, to secure land for sustainable food systems and a BD demonstration farm. That's Huxham's. I think what Monty Waldin was talking about was a wider reach, and that farm, we hope, will provide a way of drawing on biodynamics, organics, permaculture. This is Marina O'Connell, who's an agronomist, a former agricultural lecturer, agroforestry, and good practice to develop a 36 acre small farm and horticultural unit. But they're also very keen on programs with children, accessible to local schools and hard to reach children, and nutritional programs for 7 to 12-year-olds, and are very keen on that. The question is, how on earth do you create a viable farm business model? It's very difficult to do it on farming and food growing alone. So the children aspect, of the Apricot Centre, the children's wellbeing programs, will be an important part of their viability and also their community connection. Marina O'Connell is very non-stuffy about why children like coming to her small hold in Essex. They like making mud pies and generally having a good time, she said. And they just soak up the nutrition and the learning and the connection with nature. So here's the land at Week, between Week and Huxham's farm in South Devon. It borders on the Dartington estate. There are potential partnerships with Schumacher College and the degree programs there, and a cluster of innovative small farms in that area. And about, 100 or so people came to the launch on the 19th of July. And here's Gabriel, and here's the Apricot team, Marina O'Connell, Mark O'Connell, and Bob. So it's a team, it's not just one farmer, and we thought that was a way of reducing risk. And the situation now, the current situation is that we're almost there by miracles, and many people in this room help. We're almost there. We've raised, I'm very bad at figures, about 260,000 from shares, about 100,000 of shares, and the rest in loans. And our investment, so we've raised about 250, 260, so the gap is about 60,000, which we still need to raise. So it's still not too late. Still not too late for you to invest and to join to help us bridge the gap. And the Biodynamic Land Trust directors have decided, if we can get all our ducks in a row, that we're going to go for that land and lease it to Apricot. So I've took the Apricot, Apricot have a, sorry, I've got the, sorry. Why this land? It's very well located within walking distance from Totnes and Dartington. It's owned by the Dartington Hall Trust, and it's quite near. It's next door to the Steiner School and next door to Martin Crawford's agroforestry research place. So Apricot are proven farmers. They use biodynamics, and they want to set up a biodynamic learning and demonstration platform, because there's not that many places that are accessible for learning and demonstration, and they want to run courses and training courses there as well. So we're doing it via community shares and loans, and that's the map, the gap. Now the last thing, I don't know, what's the time like, Sebastian? I feel I've been galloping. 7 minutes, thank you. So there may be one or two questions. So, yeah, what are your questions? You know, bequests and farmer succession. We've had about 5 recently, including, interestingly, one today. So what are your questions about farm bequests and farmer succession? What are the issues there? So I've mentioned a few. There's the issue of family inheritance. How much do we give to our children? How much is good for them? Sufis don't give property and money to their children, apparently, until they've proved themselves in the world, because it might not be good for them. You know, so how do we work with that? How much is enough? And what about the issue of protecting BD Farm? Yeah, even though the children want to farm. What kind of connection do the children still want with the farm, and how to preserve that family connection? And, you know, we were thinking about various things like gift and lifetime leaseback. Where do retirees, retiring farmers want to live, and how to fund that house? How to fund retirement income? What's the tax and gift aid situation? How to secure new capital for farm investment and retirement home. And also, how do you develop a viable farm business model for that farm in this day and age? So one question has come from, do you know Pointsfield Herb Nursery on the Black Isle? It's a very, very world-renowned biodynamic herbal nursery. So that's a succession question. Anybody interested, come to see me afterwards. But just from these questions, can anybody in the audience shout out or say very clearly, because I don't know what's happened to the microphone, what do you think are questions around inheritance and bequests and successions? I mean, what have you got any burning questions around this, or like to raise a few issues? And anybody burning to art? Yes, somebody at the back there. Is that Chris? Do say your name.
Does the Land Trust take land out of private ownership in perpetuity?
That's the aim. Yes, that's what we do. Yes, so the aim is to free up land. It's not statutory ownership. It's not private ownership. It's cooperative, charitable trusteeship. So we're trustees. Does that make sense? So does that answer your question, Chris? The in perpetuity thing is a real challenge. I don't think Octavia Hill and Canon Rawnsley and whoever else it was that set up the National Trust in the 1890s thought the National Trust would grow so big, you know. But they are there still. And so our question is, how can we build the Biodynamic Land Trust so we'll be a long-lived institution? And one of the issues we thought very carefully about was what would happen if we went belly up. And if we go belly up, then our assets will go to the Biodynamic Association, okay, over and above the repayment of shares. So is it...
Richard Evans.
Hi, Richard.
My concern, it's not my concern, my interest is this word share. Actually, I understand you to, correct me if I'm incorrect, say that if you want to get out of your investment, you may, which is rather different than the one that they have, the St. Anthony's Trust, which is really in perpetuity. And the key difference is, I would suggest that we change the word share to supporting contributor or contributing supporter, because the word share invariably anticipates a return. So that's the one I would like you to address and clarify.
When John Stuart Mill, the 19th century freedom philosopher and architect of cooperative structures, set up the original Industrial Provident Society, there were two options: either interest or dividend bearing shares, or just shares. And the aim was to give participation and involvement, real economic participation and involvement and responsibility to members. And so when we pioneered this, that's non-dividend paying withdrawable shares. So if you invest £500 in the Biodynamic Land Trust, you don't get any interest on the shares, but I hope you'll be very interested in what we do with the farm in Totnes. Okay? But you will be able to, if you so want and give us due notice, you can withdraw your shares. So it's a kind of loan, an interest-free loan, and it gives you a real share and a real sense of participation in what we're doing. And it goes with our finest cooperative traditions. And we came across this with Fort Wall Farm. So Charlotte Hollins and Ben at Fort Hall, they asked my colleague Greg and myself, what structure will enable participation and responsibility and involvement of members, real ones. So we came up with the Industrial and Provident Society, now the Community Benefit Society, with shares, so people could really participate, one member, one vote, no matter the size of the shareholding. Now, the contributing member, I'll take that away with me, and I'd like a conversation with you. But I'm also aware that we're a bit different from the Tablehurst Co-op. You were set up in was it the early 90s, mid-90s? Yeah, and thinking's a bit changed since then. But what sort of body can people join to responsibly steward a common asset like land? That's the question, and that's why we came up with the community share model.
Martin?
Sorry, I'm rabbiting on. Is that clear?
With the
Yes.
Tablehurst situation, the land at Tablehurst is owned by St. Anthony's Trust, which is a trust, it's not a co-op.
Exactly.
So the trustees of that are appointed, and they have to appoint their successors. So that goes on in perpetuity as long as those trustees carry it on. In the co-op, which is the ownership model for the farm business, and it's the model for the land ownership of the Biodynamic Land Trust and Stockwood, there the governance, the trusteeship is carried out by the members collectively voting for a board. So as those shares are inherited by successive generations, the new owners become responsible for appointing the new trustees.
I'll tell you a story how Bangor University originated. There were miners. There were miners who went to work, and each week they put in half a penny into their mutual fund, for years, and that's what founded Bangor University. So that's our mutualism. Now, time...
No, we're there now.
Can I just finish with a summary? Yeah. So how do we build common biodynamic land wealth? I hope the Biodynamic Land Trust can serve the biodynamic movement with a suitable platform. Now, the next step, if you're interested in bequests, farm succession questions, there's Gabriel in the front to engage after this meeting and have supper with. Ella just appeared, Ella Hashemi. Entrant farmers, particularly young entrant farmers, starter farmers. Where's Wendy? Wendy over there would be very interested in meeting anybody who wants to find more out about the Huxham's Cross Farm, as I would as well. So thank you very much, and look forward to meeting more people over these projects.